and welcome to today's edition of Money Moves. I am Melissa Enoch here at the FMDQ studios in Lagos.
And I am Grace Lagbaragu. It's Tuesday, the 3rd of February. We thank you for joining us at this time on the show.
All right, let's tee off with your news now. Moody's Ratings has maintained a stable outlook for South Africa's banking system and positive outlook for Nigeria's banking sector. In a new report released on Tuesday, the rating agency says that for South African banks, improving macroeconomic conditions, easing inflation and interest rates, removal from the FATF grey list, and stabilized power supply are expected to support financial stability, with banks' key metrics remaining broadly stable. For Nigeria, Moody's Ratings says its positive outlook was supported by solid economic growth, improving foreign currency liquidity, and the exit from pandemic-era regulatory forbearance, despite expected modest pressure on capital ratios from assets growth and provisional costs. Meanwhile, Nigeria has completed its final obligations for the launch of the Africa Energy Bank, clearing the way for the institution to begin operations. The government has finalized the procurement, construction, and furnishing of the bank's headquarters in Abuja, which has now been formally handed over to Apple and Afrexim Bank. Officials said all conditions for takeoff have been met, with the Accra Energy Bank expected to commence operations by April, following the resolution of earlier delays. In South Africa, President Cyril Ramaphosa today addressed the opening of the IBT Human Settlement 2026 Summit, focusing on the urgent need to tackle South Africa's housing shortages and fast-track access to affordable, decent homes. The president outlined government's plans to scale up housing delivery, strengthen partnerships with the private sector, and improve urban planning to meet the growing demand for human settlements. Let's listen.
Housing is not merely about shelter, but it is also about belonging. It is also about identity, about security, and about opportunity. But more than that, it is also about value, ownership, where people inherently have the need to have value in their hands and to own something. South Africa, like many other countries in the world, faces a growing demand for housing. You heard the minister say almost 80% of our people in years to come, and in fact in few years to come, will be living in urban areas. Since 1994, the democratic government has been able to provide more than 5 million housing opportunities, as defined also by the minister, and as also articulated by the deputy minister when she was talking about what the intentions of this summit are. And I, as I travel around the world, I always ask other government leaders, presidents and prime minister, I always ask them, what do you do for housing for your people? Do you provide free housing, build houses and give them to people free? And in the main, they always say, no, we do give them a subsidy. And we do support in this way and that way, but in the end, people still have to pay for their own houses. We are the only country that I know, and repeat, I know, even on the African continent, that builds houses and hands them over to the people of our country. We have done so now, and if you include all the issues of housing opportunities, being sites and build houses, we've done that to 5 million households.
In other news, the Republic of Benin is set to launch National Circular Economy Action Plan on February 4, 2026. The initiative, funded by the African Circular Economy Facility and supported by the African Development Bank and Africa Circular Economy Alliance, aims to promote sustainable and inclusive growth through resource optimization, waste reduction, and reuse. The action plan for the circular economy will provide a strategic framework to integrate circularity into public policies, national development plans, and investments, supporting Benin's transition from a linear to a circular economic model with benefits for climate action, green growth, and job creation. Africa is stepping up efforts to deepen local participation across the oil and gas value chain as governments push to retain more value, build capacity, and create jobs at home. Speaking on driving local content in the sector, Nigeria's Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Heineken Lokpobiri, outlines how policy, investment, and partnerships can strengthen domestic industries and support sustainable energy development. Let's listen.
Nigeria's opportunities are enormous. The field is big enough for both Nigerian companies and EPC companies to operate at a globally competitive, price. But what we found was a situation where we promoted middlemen. We didn't really grow the capacity of even Nigerian companies. Companies that invested, companies that have said, look, bring it to us. And we said, we can do it. That is not the intent of local content. So I believe we made practical discussions, under this session, so that we'll be able to find, the best companies can truly be supported to grow the way we expect them to grow. As part of the strategy in the local content, Act, and couple of companies have actually grow any capacity. And that's fun. But the good news is that under, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's leadership, all these issues are no more. Our objective in relation to local content is to see how we can bring everybody to the arena. Both the local companies, both the EPC companies, that everybody will play his role side by side. At the end of the day, there will be a requisite capacity by companies that truly want to be.
In Egypt, the Financial Regulatory Authority has raised ceilings for micro-enterprise financing and micro-insurance. Decision number 1 of 2026 increases the maximum funding limit for micro-enterprises from 266,000 Egyptian pounds to 292,000 Egyptian pounds, while decision number 2 of 2026 raises micro-insurance coverage to 390,000 Egyptian pounds from 312,500 Egyptian pounds. Finally, on News Now, Impact Property Fund Limited lists on Namibian Securities Exchange as Capital Pool Company. The fund, trading under the ticker IFP, made its market debut on January 30, 2026, establishing a publicly traded vehicle to pursue property-backed and service-enabled acquisitions in Namibia. I am Melissa Enoch, and that's it on News Now. The show returns shortly with Grace at the FMDQ Archives Room, giving us our market rounds. welcome back to Money Moves. Let's now go over to Grace for updates on how the markets wrapped up today. Hello there again, Grace.
Thank you, Melissa. Let's now track how the markets traded today, starting off with the equities. The Nigerian Stock Exchange advanced 0.31%, while the BROVM slipped 0.21% to 364.40. The Nairobi Securities Exchange edged down 0.06%. In South Africa, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange climbed 1.61%, and in North Africa, Egypt's EGX30 surged 2.88%, while Morocco's MASI also gained 0.25%. Let's do a quick round on some of the Pan-African currencies. The rand weakened 0.82% to 15.96 against the US dollar. The Egyptian pound eased 0.16%, while the CFA franc slipped 0.86% to 556.24. The Kenyan shilling firmed slightly up 0.02%. The Moroccan dirham softened 0.19%, while the naira strengthened 0.40% to 1,386 naira 11 kobo as at 13:29 GMT. Let's switch into the commodities data deck, beginning with energy prices. Brent crude rose 0.50% to $66.63, while US WTI gained 0.71% to $62.58. Natural gas increased 1.17% to $3.27, and Arabian gasoline added 0.90% to $1.86 as at 13:20 GMT. Now, finally, to metals prices. Gold jumped 6.42% to $4,951.10. Copper climbed 4.62%, and platinum surged 6.94% to $2,250.10. Aluminium fell 2.34%, while iron ore slid 2.80% to $102.66 as at 13:22 GMT. And that's our Money Moves markets today. Back to you, Melissa.
Grace, thank you very much for those updates on how the markets wrapped up. And that's it on today's edition of Money Moves. From me and the rest of the team here at the FMDQ studios, we say thank you very much for watching and bye for now.